The legendary Hall of Famer Sugar Shane Mosley, Coach Devin Haney. Obviously, I got to see him, during fight week. He was talking a lot, highly, very highly of Devin Haney and what he was seeing in training camp. Obviously, Devin's performance wasn't well received by the boxing community. I didn't think it was a good performance, but I was expecting a poor performance from Devin. I mean, he got the crap kicked out of him against Devin. When Devin fought Ryan Garcia, he got the shit beat out of him. So, I'm not expecting him to look good in his fight back, but he definitely looked scared in there. He looked more scared than I thought he was going to look. And I was already expecting Devin to look scared in there because he dealt with a traumatic event at the end of the day. Ryan Garcia tested positive for PEDs, but also, he was getting hit with that left hook over and over and over again. So, like I said, I wasn't expecting Devin to look good. I was expecting him to have a shaky performance, but he definitely looks like a scared puppy in the ring right now. And I think that's a big problem when there are a lot of big dogs waiting for you, big lions, and then you're a little bit afraid to get hit against the declining Jose Ramirez. That's what was concerning to me from Devin Haney. I think he just has to shake off the cobwebs, and it's easier said than done because he really did deal with something that was traumatic for him. I know boxing's all about, the fight business and everything like that. People roast him for suing, but, he probably needs therapy or something because he did look weird. Devin did look off, like he was afraid to get hit by Jose Ramirez, and that's a problem in the sport of boxing. If that's the mentality that persists, in the next few fights for Devin Haney, he should probably retire because there's no point. There's no point in doing it. He's made a lot of money in the sport already, multiple millions of dollars. So what's the point if you're afraid to get hit? You're not even trusting yourself. So at the end of the day, if you're not 100% mentally, you're definitely not going to be 100% physically. Moving around as much as Devin Haney did, every time his back would touch the ropes, he would cut an angle, and you're supposed to do that, but it was just excessive. At the end of the day, this is the boxing industry. This is the hurt business where we're expecting you to be a little bit more explosive, land some shots with conviction, and show that you're still elite and you still have that killer instinct. But Devin just didn't show that, and it was one fight at the end of the day. He could come back and look really good, and then this will all blow over. But there's also that reality, that this could be how Devin Haney is for the rest of his life. This is all about how he overcomes adversity, and for him, getting that beating from Ryan, obviously took a lot out of him because you saw him running around that ring. I know he won the fight, but I take that back. He won the boxing match. He didn't win a fight. So, all of those fights on that card were lackluster. They all underperformed in my opinion. Tio doing the best out of everybody, but still, even though Rolly got the upset, I just thought it was weird because Ryan didn't fight. So it's at the end of the day, I know Rolly got the respect of Ryan when he dropped him with that, double left hook. But still, if you see a guy like Ryan Garcia and you're used to seeing him throw the same shot, and even though Rolly did neutralize Ryan Garcia to his credit, to see Ryan Garcia not even attempt to, fight back throughout the rest of the fight kind of gave me the feeling that, as good as it was for Rolly to win that fight, I still don't think he's any better than he was before. I think it's just, he did something great here. He did something great, and he was hydrated. I believe in all of that. And Ryan Garcia didn't perform, but, Ryan Garcia didn't perform. So how much credit do you give Rolly for that? Nothing changed about Rolly. He didn't fight any differently. He held that phone. He was very disciplined with that right hand, making sure he didn't get caught by a Ryan Garcia left hook. But he's still not an elite boxer. He hits hard, and, him and Ryan fought for a title technically, but I don't think Rolly's elite. I still think that if they rematch and Ryan Garcia has a crowd, he has an audience, I still don't have full confidence that Rolly beats Ryan Garcia in a rematch. So I don't mind seeing it. I don't mind seeing Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney part 2. I think, if I was Devin, maybe fight Rolly next. But it's also a risky fight because Rolly hits hard. If Rolly did that to Ryan Garcia, what's he going to do to Devin? It's all about styles, it came out people were saying, definitely Ryan did PEDs. Even me, I made a few videos maybe Ryan just did do PEDs, but it's also about styles, and when Ryan fought somebody who had the level of power that was gonna get respect from him, he backs off. But with Devin, he didn't worry about his power. And Devin even caught Ryan clean sometimes, but it wasn't enough to make him back down. You know, Rolly had that power to actually drop Ryan Garcia. That's why Ryan, you know, gave the respect. That's why he didn't look the same. So, you know, it is about styles, but at the end of the day, I don't think Ryan Garcia was there mentally to respond the way that he typically would. You know, and that's not Rolly's fault. You know, Rolly came to fight and Ryan didn't. So it is what it is, but still, for Devin, he's got to make some changes because, you know, even Shane Mosley was talking about how he didn't teach him that. You know, Shane Mosley, his coach, the person that they brought in to help Devin with power, was like, what was that, dude? Like, I taught you how to sit down on your shots and turn your shots over, and you didn't do any of that. You ran around the ring, and that's why Shane Mosley was like, yeah, his dad probably told him, you know, don't mess up the bag for the Ryan Garcia fight. But when you do that, it doesn't make anybody want to watch you against Ryan Garcia. It doesn't make anybody want to watch you again. So that's the risk of, you know, just fighting for the bag. When you fight for the bag, sometimes bad things happen, and Devin had a poor performance as a result. You know, when you fight for legacy and you fight for yourself and you fight to prove something, then, you know, good things come. You know, the money will come. You know, the followers, the fans, they'll come. The glory will come. But you have to, you know, take risks. You have to engage a little bit to show the fans like you're worth watching. And if not, you know, this could be the last bag you get. You may get a big bag against Ryan Garcia, but it's like, at what cost? You know, you're kind of sacrificing your entire reputation just for the check. And I understand that boxing's a dangerous sport. I'm not saying, you know, I want Devin Haney to get hit more. You know, I don't care. But at the end of the day, it's like, if people are gonna watch you and you want to become a fighter that goes down in the history books, then you're gonna have to do more than what you did. You know, you can't just run around the ring. You gotta throw your shots, like I said, with conviction and show that you're not afraid of fighting. You know, you're a fighter, so you gotta fight. So it is what it is. You know, Devin Haney is still a tremendous talent in the sport of boxing. I hope to see him back to his, you know, his self where he never had that Ryan Garcia fight. And I know it's easier said than done, but I hope we see it. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys on the next Downs Boxing video. Peace.